Hello, Grace, and welcome back to Cover to Cover. Today is March 9th, and we are covering Numbers 30 and 31. Chapter 30 is laws stipulating how to make a vow, and chapter 31 is about Israel's war with Midian. So let us begin. Vows. First off, this chapter is a direct commentary on the commandment, do not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Things to notice. Notice the difference between male and female vows. In certain conditions, a woman's vow can be annulled by her husband or father. Why a section on vows? Why place it here? It goes to the theme of sacrifice, as vows are a form of self-dedication or a self-sacrifice, bringing yourself as a sacrifice to the Lord. Also, Israel is about to go to war, and vows are common in times of war. As you may have heard, there are no atheists in foxholes. Vows are often made and fulfilled at festivals and special occasions. So once again, as we're talking about in previous chapters about the daily sacrifice and the festivals and the feasts and all the sacrifices for the religious, the liturgical calendar, vows are an important part of that. This is an appropriate place to put them. That brings us to Numbers 31. After all of this has been done, Israel is rallied up and ready to go to war with Midian. Israel is now fulfilling its mission to conquer the promised land, and it begins with the war against Midian. Israel is taking vengeance on Midian for leading them astray back in Numbers 25. Moses' death is again addressed as God will take him home after this battle. Israel's battle, and this battle specifically, are often portrayed as holy war. What is a holy war? In this case, it is divinely commanded by God. A priest is present, and in this case it is Phinehas the priest from Numbers 25. The sanctuary vessels, possibly the Ark of the Covenant, are being brought along to this campaign. Ritual purification needs to take place afterwards, and then a portion of the spoils are dedicated to God. Contrast this battle, the victory of this battle, with Israel's refusal to go to war at the beginning of Numbers. This text offers almost no details about the actual battle, but Israel defeats the 5 kings of Midian, and one of them is Zur, the father of Cosbi. Cosbi is the Midianite woman killed by Phinehas in her tent in Numbers chapter 25. So the chapter puts a heavy focus on the spoils of war. The battle and its aftermath is described intentionally in almost improbable terms. A force of only 12,000 fighters loses not one person. That's in Numbers 31:49. It mentions that. The army obtains an astronomical amount of plunder. 32,000 virgin girls, over 60,000 donkeys, 72,000 cattle, 675,000 sheep. This fits a pattern in biblical war campaigns. God fights for Israel. Israel's victory is not based on its own might. God leads Israel with a small and often outnumbered army, an outmatched force. So what are the main points of Numbers 25? First off, this is a closure to the whole Baal Peor incident where Israel was led astray by the wives of Midian. This also signifies Israel's rededication to God. The transition also, this is a transition from the old generation that refused to fight to a new generation entering the promised land. Most of the chapter focuses on counting of the spoils and their distribution among the warriors, the people, and the proper tribute offered to God. The army must be purified after the battle, and in verse 50 it says that they make atonement. So once again, we're confronted with violence in the Bible, and if we were to measure this in modern terms, a lot of what Israel does would be considered more war crimes. And this is important because, once again, if you remember, I'm talking about the biblical authors seem to be aware of this tension. They also seem to be aware that future audiences reading this are just as uneasy when reading this. So there's the idea that this text is intentionally asking us to sit and think and to kind of confront the discomfort of violence in the Bible. Why it's there? Something to ponder. We'll explore this more in the future. But the mention of atonement after the battle implies that even a holy war will disrupt the holiness of a community.